I hate it when anti-Israel activists smear Israel and hurt Israelis. I especially hate it when Jews do that to their fellow Jews. As you know, social media censorship is growing, and it is affecting us as well. The best way to support our video work is to sign up for our newsletter on pulseofisrael.com and share our videos. If you are already a subscriber, thank you. Recently, J Street, the New Israel Fund, Partners for Progressive Israel, Amenu, Americans for Peace Now, and Trua, the Rabbinic Call for Human Rights, all sent a letter to President Joe Biden demanding that he revoke a Trump administration policy that permits products made in Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria to be labeled Made in Israel when they reach United States stores. In their letter, they state, quote, by inaccurately and misleading treating settlements and other products from Area C of the West Bank as if they were made in Israel, the Trump-era notification attempts to reverse decades of U.S. policy that makes a firm distinction between Israel and the West Bank. It runs counter to the Biden administration's policy of opposing settlement activity and unilateral annexation of territory as harmful to the prospects for the peaceful, just resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, unquote. So, the reason they are making the demand to remove the Made in Israel label is that the label hurts their boycott efforts against Jewish products made in Judea and Samaria. Jews supporting the boycott of fellow Jews. That is a total disgrace. They want to hurt the sales of all of our Jewish products produced in Judea and Samaria. They believe that if the Made in Israel label is removed and instead replaced with a label that highlights that they were produced in the settlements, then fewer people would buy these products and the Jewish businesses in Judea and Samaria would be hit financially. As of now, the Biden administration has not responded to this demand to change the Trump policy of labeling all Jewish Judea and Samaria products as made in Israel. The sad thing is that this demand does nothing to help support the disastrous two-state solution or the Palestinian Arabs themselves, who these left-wing organizations profess to support. The Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria will continue to grow regardless of how products are labeled in stores. Jewish businesses will continue to produce more and more products in Judea and Samaria, if necessary, finding other places around the world to buy them, and most importantly, changing a product label does nothing to stop the Palestinian Authority's support for armed and diplomatic terror against Israel, which is the true obstacle to peace that these organizations are silent about. All this demand of theirs does is once again expose these so-called Jewish and even pro-Israel organizations as anti-Israel and leaders in the fight to hurt their fellow Jews and the State of Israel. While they profess social justice with the zeal to fix the world, aka Tikkun Olam, they have no problem hurting their own Jewish brethren and their own homeland, the Jewish State of Israel, which is a modern miracle and an inspiration for all indigenous populations no longer sovereign in their homeland. We, the State of Israel, are an inspiration, and instead they hurt us. Calling on a foreign government to hurt the livelihood of fellow Jews that helps no one except their own warped conscience doesn't line up with any Jewish value that I'm familiar with. As I say over and over again, a future of peace and coexistence with our Arab Muslim neighbors in Judea and Samaria and Gaza is definitely possible. And it is dependent upon the growth of the Jewish population in Judea and Samaria, not on our expulsion. Destroying Jewish communities and expelling Jews from their homes only motivates our enemies to use more terror against us and prolongs the war that they have been waging against us for decades. However, strengthening our Jewish presence in Judea and Samaria sends the opposite message, that we are home, we are not going anywhere, so their continued terror is futile. A bigger Jewish presence also provides a better future with economic prosperity for all those Arab Muslims who decide to stop supporting terror and instead live peacefully with us. That is exactly what happened to the Arab Muslims of Jaffa, Haifa, Akko, and the other Arab communities that are today Israel. And that is the same thing that will happen to the Arab Muslims in Judea and Samaria.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.